I'm here with Mike Orndorf, who is the developer and owner of Pettaway Square, and he's partnered with Aaron Long to open up Pettaway Coffee. So I wanted to get to introduce him to y'all and ask him to share about the vision behind developing Pettaway, and then specifically also this coffee shop. So
Sure.
Tell us who you are and kind of the vision behind where this all started.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Orndorf. I'm actually a resident here in the neighborhood of Pettaway. I just live about 5.5 minute walk from here. I know that because I walked here about every day for 2 years with my one or both of my kids, and it takes about 5.5 minutes to get here. Yeah, but we've lived here for about 9 years. We decided to live in this neighborhood because of the diversity, because of the proximity to the SoMa business district and all the restaurants, nightlife, Bernie's Gardens, the donut shop, blah blah, etc. So we knew that we wanted to be around that type of environment. That's the type of environment we wanted to raise a family around. So we ended up in this neighborhood about 9 years ago, and about maybe 5-6 years ago, where a neighbor and I began a conversation of turning Commerce Street back into a heavier commercial use business district for our neighborhood. But so back in 2017, he and I first started the conversation of developing this part of our neighborhood into our own little micro business district, and we actually started tracking down who owned some of the land, and we never thought that we would have anything more to do with the development of this than just to get the conversation started. There was internally, mentally, there was always this glass ceiling that was always for somebody bigger than us. But a couple years goes by, and then next thing you know, we picked up a couple lots here and then a couple lots there, and no one ever came to do it. And next thing you know, we're just like, maybe we can just do this.
Wow.
But on these 4 residential lots are 8 apartments, 13 commercial spaces, and then there are 21 parking spaces, off-street parking spaces.
Wow. And are you developing homes as well?
Sure, that was the first part of our development, and the first 7 years of our work in this neighborhood was to build homes. We probably built somewhere around 50 homes, and whether it's in this neighborhood, maybe our neighborhood, Mansion area neighborhood, or the one that's on the south side of Roosevelt. But that was the first step of development, was to start increasing the density. We built on vacant lots in every case except for one. And even in that case, we built an accessory structure in the backyard that could be rented out as a more affordable space if the owner so chose.
Wow.
So there are 800 plus lots in the neighborhood of Pettaway. There's probably still 200 empty lots in the neighborhood of Pettaway. Wow. So I mean, there's still opportunity out there if somebody wants their dream custom house built within walking distance to a coffee shop and a food truck and a future brick and mortar restaurants. So I mean, there's still a ton of opportunity for across the spectrum interests of living in our neighborhood.
Is there anything particularly unique about the architecture or design of some of these homes?
It's unique in that it is not specific. Like, we have an incredibly diverse genre of homes in our neighborhood, and the reason we have that is because our bill of assurance was written in the late 1800s. So you're not going to get that typical suburban style, like every house has to be a ranch, every house needs one of these 3 colored shingles. We try our very best never to put the garage on the front of the house, and it dang sure can't be the closest thing to the street. We're a front porches and sidewalks type of developers in this neighborhood. If we do garages, we try and hide them or put them in the back. When we do fences, we don't do 6-foot privacy fences. Our fences are usually about 4 feet high, and you can see over them and through them, because the whole idea in every aspect of our style of development is that we want to increase relationship, we want to build community, and we want to offer opportunity.
Come on, baby. That's a soundbite if I've ever heard one.
So if you buy a home from me, a lot of times, I try and put solar panels on a lot of the homes that I build if I'm able to. And then in other cases, I've put accessory structures in the backyard, so they can either rent it out and just create, it becomes, generational wealth when they buy it from me and start, paying down their loan, but it also becomes an income producing asset. And this is something that anybody out there has. If they have access to get a loan, then they can also, they not only get to buy their home from me, but they get to buy an income producing property through the accessory structure or the accessory dwelling unit in their backyard. So that's the opportunity I'm talking about. But additionally, like when we, the whole idea and concept behind building a town square and centering it around a common area, courtyard, was that's where the farmers market is. But when people come here and they pop their tent up and they're selling their whatever passion product is, they can conceivably see themselves climbing that ladder of upward mobility more easily through the 300 square foot storefront retail spaces, through the 600 square foot storefront retail spaces, but because they can't see it anywhere else. No one else is building 300 and 600 square foot retail spaces. If you want to open a business, you got to go from your garage, your SUV, your van, your tent at the farmer's market into a 1,600 square foot, 2,400 square foot storefront strip mall that might possibly drag you way out to where there is no foot traffic. So like this was not without intention that things were designed the way that they were, by putting a coffee shop as the anchor and then a yoga studio above it with a food truck and a microbrewery. That's a lot of foot traffic. That's a lot of different people that are going to come in here and wait on a burger, and I'm just going to go on and walk around the courtyard. Oh, they sell shoes here. I can get my nails done. There's a real estate agent. There's a barber over here. And there's a bookstore. Like there's just a lot of things that people might decide that they want to support in addition while they're just waiting on their burger.
Wow. Where was there an inspiration here? Like, was there a city that you're traveling with your wife or?
Well, every historic city was the inspiration. What I'm talking about is how we developed hundreds of years ago. This is how things were developed, because everything had to be walkable 100 years ago.
Totally.
Yeah, so that's why 100 years ago, every storefront was only 25 feet wide, because the street was the asset. You didn't want to waste the street. Right. Everything had to be walked to, so you needed everything close together. Now, post-World War II, everything is a car drive away, and nothing seems to make sense, and it's just too easy to be like, you know what, at this point, I'm not going to drive there, I'm just going to order it from Amazon. Yeah. Well, it's really hard to meet people when you order everything from your telephone. Hard to develop relationships if you never meet somebody.
Yeah. Wow. So, I asked earlier about if you had any partners. And you were telling me that your wife is really the only partner that you've had to get this thing started, and that's all you wanted or needed. And I like how you were telling me about, like, you kind of started the conversation thinking that was your role, was just to start the conversation, but then you broke through that glass ceiling. So I'm kind of curious about that. Like, what was that moment where you're like, babe, we can do this?
I don't know. I think that it happened so slowly and then all at once that I don't know that there was a specific moment where it was like, okay, we're doing this. It was just, no one else is. And turns out, after asking 2 other banks if they would fund us and they said no, we did find one that said yes. If you spend the first $500,000 and work for free, we'll do it. But that was enough. That was enough. Game time. Yep. And you did it. We sold some rentals. We did cash out our emergency fund. I say cashed out. We left a very small amount in our emergency fund because we're not complete idiots. But we cashed out a big portion of our emergency fund. Fortunately, it was during COVID, and I was able to cash in on my 401k, which there wasn't much there, to be honest with you. But I was able to cash out and penalty free on my 401k. So between our emergency fund, the sale of some rentals, cashing in on my personal 401k penalty free, we were able to scrape together what we needed. The land we had already purchased the land; it was already paid for. So we were already in it. It's public knowledge. Maybe $130,000 is what we were in on the land, and I knew that I could afford to work for free because we were building other houses at the time. My wife works, so we had confidence from that standpoint that we weren't doing anything ridiculous. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just how our story ended up being told. We never set out for it to be told that way, but.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so good. One of the things that's fun that I would love to point out is that you didn't show up with your polo or your button down and a sports coat. Yeah. And, it was important to you to communicate that the energy and the vibe here is just real down to earth, real authentic. Can you maybe speak to that, about kind of the personality and just the attitude, the culture that is consistent amongst the vendors and neighbors here?
Sure. Maybe I can do it and not even get emotional about it. I don't know. I mean, this is just an affirming atmosphere in every way that you can think about. This is a diverse community, and not just. When I talk about diversity, I'm not just talking about the diversity of race. Like we have empty nesters that live in our neighborhood and bring great value to our neighborhood. They're our eyes on the street when we're all at work.
Wow, yeah.
We have young people who don't have a family yet, are unmarried in our neighborhood. So I mean, there's a diversity of age group. We're diverse in sexual orientation. It's just an incredibly diverse, affirming environment, and so it's just really easy to feel like you can be yourself in this environment. It's diverse, and it's diverse and affirming as a coffee shop in that, like, we want to be the first non-alcoholic bar in Arkansas. Now we'll offer a red wine and a white wine and 2 beers if you want to have that.
Yeah.
But if you just want to be social and have a good time, but you're not interested in having a headache or getting a hangover the next day, but you still want to have a good time, then we can provide that for you. And
wow. So you are going to do a non-alcoholic selection really well here. That's kind of
We've got some really good non-alcoholic beers. I can personally testify to that. Of really good non-alcoholic options on the beer side. We're still working through some good options on the wine side. I found one that's probably halfway there, but it's a little bit tougher on the wine side. And then we have a bartender that's got 15 plus years experience, and she's putting together some really tasty cocktails that'll get you really close to the real thing, but avoid the headache and the hangover.
That's great.
So we'll have a fun list of mocktails, but also some legit NA beers and wines and other zero proof cocktails that will help you unwind and relax in a more natural way. Yeah, you're not going to get high off of it, but you'll be able to say you know what, I feel less stressed.
Totally. Yeah, that's great. And I love hearing a little bit more about kind of the uniqueness of something you're going to have to offer here at Pettaway Coffee. So you do have a partner here, though, Aaron Long, and so I'd love to hear about that, how that started, and kind of the vision that maybe bringing him into the mix to be able to help accomplish what was important to you.
Man, it's kind of spooky how it all worked out, because there were actually 2 other guys that were supposed to come in here and build out this coffee shop. I had no interest in owning and operating a coffee shop. I had no interest in being part of the vision and finishing out a coffee shop. But a close friend of mine, John Brandenberger, who owns a local coffee shop, he saw that I was in distress. He's like, Mike, let me help you. I've got a woman who is experienced in bartending. She can take care of you on that side. I've got a guy who's experienced in owning a coffee shop. He can be your consultant. And he lined it all out for me and put all the pieces there. And we start walking down that road, and I just I suppose the passion and the energy and the longing, or whatever, the longing of for Aaron Long started build, and then next thing you know, he's just like, hey man, I think I could be the guy. And dude, since, like I say, I don't have any interest in necessarily being a long-term owner of a coffee shop. I'm thankful to have been a part of this vision and this process.
Wow.
But if you had me finish out this coffee shop, there would have been a Keurig there, you know? It's just not something that I nerd out on.
Totally.
But Aaron does. Yes. I mean, you can see it in the art that he has, tattooed on his body.
Wow.
This is his thing. This is his jam. He loves it, and he's taking it seriously. And so, I mean, it's just spooky how he ended up here at this time of his life. And man, I just couldn't be more thankful for him, because I tried to give this opportunity away to multiple people, and it just didn't work out. Like good people that, recognized that it was a good opportunity, but it just didn't work out. But this one did, and this was the right one, and there's just no doubt about it.
If you haven't been to Pettaway, be sure to come. Let them know that the Rackley team sent you. They're going to give 3 of the people who comment and or share this video a free coffee date. So we'd love to invite you to come.
And mug.
And mug. Here we go. Mike, thank you for the time. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.